Every month, gameranx puts together a compilation of some strange stuff for you. Hi folks, it's Falcon, and today on gameranx, weird gaming stories from August 2020. At number 10, Madden got some crazy low review scores. And beyond that, the user scores were much, much worse. We're talking very low scores, though. Reviewers were not kind to it on account. It kind of just is bare and seems like there wasn't a lot of effort. It's a release that just completely necessitated updates to even be on par with the rest of the series. The theory is the Madden developers are moving teams to next gen and just didn't prioritize this. I don't know exactly what happened. People were just pissed about this game all around, though. And EA responded. I mean, thankfully. I would hope they would, because people tweeted these videos of glitches in this game, and oh my god, they absolutely have to address this stuff. Seriously, look at this. Look at, he's like stumbling infinitely. That should not be in the final product. I'm sorry. What? I mean, so they're patching it. The first patch they did was addressing the stuff that we just showed you. The just absolutely ridiculous crap. But the patch they're targeting for September 18th addresses the more bare bones nature of the game that I mentioned earlier, that there's just not enough. They're making lots of changes to different modes to sort of, well, be interesting. Yeah, the actual release of this game wasn't very good. At number 9, a typo in user-submitted information on a street map that Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 uses contained information that caused it to make a 212-story building. Now, this is what happened. The building itself, for real, in real life, is 2 stories high. However, when you fat finger that, you can very easily accidentally press more than one key. And that doesn't actually have anything to do with having fat fingers. It's just a verb. Like, the person who did it very well could have simply had careless fingers, if we really want to be clear. It's really funny, though, because the building is in, which it's obviously the tallest building on any cityscape in the game. Some people said it looks kind of like Half-Life 2's Citadel, and, you know, not entirely wrong. Definitely is kind of creepy, because it just stands out as this bizarre structure that's just utterly impossible. At number 8, back in March, id Software's lead engine programmer Billy Kahn said that the id Tech 7 engine was actually capable of running at up to 1,000 frames per second if you were able to accommodate it with hardware. Now, most people took this as, oh yeah, sure. I mean, if that kind of hardware even existed, sure, yeah, I'm sure that it probably could. In a lot of people's minds, it was literally a theoretical point. A couple of people who worked for a computer company called XCOM, Marcin Rywak and Piotr Smansky, put together a pretty insane PC. So when they put it all together, they were able to achieve 500 to 600 FPS. So they're like, well, what if we overclock everything? So they did just that. Now, keeping in mind that overclocking something at an intense speed, which is exactly what they did, requires serious cooling. And what they did for that was literally pour liquid nitrogen on it, which is basically like nuking it in terms of freezing it. This was the only way to run it at the speed that they needed it at, and they actually managed to peak it at 1,014 frames per second, with all 8 of their CPU cores clocked at 6.6 gigahertz. Like, that's insane. It goes so far above and beyond what's necessary to play a game, but it's also really cool in more ways than one, like literally minus 196 degrees Fahrenheit. At number 7, an Australian gamer was playing Pokemon Go and traveled 14 kilometers specifically in order to, progress. Now, you might not know this, but Melbourne, Australia is, well, under lockdown, mate, in a serious way. They don't play around there, and they fined this player $1,652 for playing Pokemon Go and wandering around like, someone playing Pokemon Go, but in a lockdown. He was one of 172 people fined that week, but probably the only one who got fined for playing a video game. Also, 14 kilometers, that's some pretty serious dedication to catch some Pokemon during a worldwide pandemic. At number 6, that Fortnite commercial. Holy crap. All right, like, I'm gonna go ahead and say, like, them deleting Fortnite from the Apple App Store, really weird. Don't like that. Don't think it was a good idea on their part. Really kind of rubbed me the wrong way. Epic Games making like 1984 / old Apple commercial reference is perhaps one of the most disingenuous things I have ever seen in my life. Not only is Epic Games, you know, also a massive corporate power that has way more control than they should, but hey, that kind of imagery should really be reserved for something maybe a little more serious. Like I said, I don't agree with what Apple did in any way. I think it's weird and frankly messed up. If you believe in the quote-unquote free market and how everything's supposed to work, this is a blatant, like, intervention in what people want. People want to play Fortnite on their iPhones. That's, I think, obvious. So supply that demand, Apple. Thanks. Also, Epic, don't do commercials like this. Just like, yeah, it's fine to be indignant about something stupid that a bigger company does, but like, man, no. At number 5, there is a phenomenal video. It's not as though people haven't done these before, like people acting out Grand Theft Auto in real life, that kind of thing. But this one goes ahead and combines a bunch of tropes from GTA, Yakuza, and MGS, and it just consistently made me laugh the whole time. From the running up against walls, to the recruiting an NPC to follow you around, to the boss fight. Oh my god, the boss fight. This video has just got it all. Betrayal, badly lip-synced dialogue, overly video gamey sound effects, very obviously dubbed in ambient noise. I mean, it just reeks of a synthetic reality. But at the same time, it's also a really cool look at Shibuya at night, like the real Shibuya. And wow, does it look a lot like Yakuza? I'm not even joking. Like, just because of the way that the camera moves around, basically the same as a Yakuza game, it makes the real place look like a video game. At number 4, a Japanese child, a schoolgirl, a girl of school age, met up with a 44-year-old man she was talking to over social media, and guess what? Got kidnapped. I mean, very unfortunately, that is not the weird part. It's actually fairly common. At least the way they actually cover this kind of story, it tends to be that kind of story. She actually got away thanks to a video game console. He took her phone from her and also tied up with a wire. When she didn't return home that day, her parents called the police and obviously reported her missing, but no one knew where she was. So she used a video game console that the man had to connect to the internet and actually connect the online help desk of the police department. And they were able to figure out where she was being held, and they arrested the guy. Like, not cool, guy. At number 3, this is the type of thing that makes it kind of hard for gamers sometimes. When people hear about these kinds of stories, like, gamers need to get their priorities straight. And, you know, it's not the vast majority of gamers who do stuff like this. But one gentleman absolutely refused to evacuate in southern China when there was extreme flooding because he was in the middle of a game. Now, one might be able to say that this is truly a game or die moment. This guy really takes gaming seriously, and from a pure gaming perspective, that is to be commended to some extent. The dedication, it's definitely there, and it's worth giving a little bit of credit. However, the police had to get involved to evacuate a guy who was saying, "I can't betray my teammates and leave in the middle of a game," which again, very good attitude. Just a bit extreme when there's flooding that is equally extreme going on. It's maybe a little too much of a good thing, right? But I also think this is the type of story they always use to be like, gamers are nuts. Did you hear about that gamer who wouldn't leave the house when it was flooding and he had to be dragged out by police? Oh, they're so weird, those gamers. That's why I feel a little bit obligated to defend the man, even though I definitely don't agree with what he was doing. Leave the house. Your life is definitely more important. Like, live to game another day, guys. At number 2, and this is kind of a sad one, Bill English, one of the co-creators of the computer mouse, died at 91 years old. Basically, what happened was he and another gentleman by the name of Doug Engelbart were talking, and Doug Engelbart had this idea. What if you had a thing that you plugged into the computer, and when you moved it around, it would move the cursor around? Bill English was like, that's a great idea, but how do we do it? He ended up building the first mouse, which was a piece of wood with a very rudimentary button on it that had what looked like a monitor cable attached to it. I mean, it's a very specific looking device, but you can tell it's a mouse. It's ugly as hell, but it's a mouse. These two guys basically paved the way for so much in gaming because, as you know, PC gaming is superior as mouse and keyboard is the most luxurious and accurate means of control. Ask anyone. I'm of course exaggerating for comedic effect. But Mr. English, you will be missed. Thank you for your contribution, sir. Rest in peace. And finally, at number 1, the Chinese government has created a real name verification system for video games. Yeah, they legalized them a few years ago, and they gotta regulate them in some way, because that's what a huge, vaguely authoritarian government might do. This is the public solution. There are actually a couple of similar systems in place, which corporations have implemented themselves. But the point is to stop kids from playing, quote-unquote, too many video games. Yeah, China is basically like an annoying parent. You're playing too many video games. You stop that. But I'm literally in a $2 million tournament, Dad. No, you stop it and go outside. Son, submit your biometrics to continue playing. That's my impression of China. They're like a very strict yet ignorant father until they ask for your biometrics, which is something a father typically does not do, I hope. But what do you think? Leave us a comment, let us know. Plenty of weirdness this month. Interested in your input. If you like this video, click like. If you're not subscribed, now's a great time to do so. We upload brand new videos every day of the week, and the best way to see them first is, of course, a subscription, so click subscribe. Don't forget to enable all those notifications, and as always, we thank you very much for watching this video. I'm Falcon. You can follow me on Twitter at Falcon the Hero, and we'll see you next time right here on gameranx.